A lot of people ask me in 31 years of practice, what happens when I get adjusted? What is that popping noise, and what is really going on inside my body when I get a chiropractic adjustment? Well, basically what happens is, we got to talk about a little bit of anatomy here. You have something called active range of motion and passive range of motion. Active is how far you can turn your head using your own muscles. Passive would be, hey, you get right there, then I can push a little further, okay? Well, there's a little space beyond that called the paraphysiological space. And that basically means that you go beyond that passive range of motion in the joint, what they call gaps, okay? When that joint gaps, it's kind of like pulling a suction cup off a window, and that's why you make that little popping noise. As you separate that joint into the paraphysiological space, the joint opens up. It actually, on video fluoroscopy, they can say it creates a little air bubble inside that joint when that joint is separated. And that's what makes that little pop. Well, the unique thing about that little pop is when you get into that paraphysiological space, it increases the range of motion of that joint by a significant percentage. As you increase the range of motion in that joint, you get a better fluid exchange, which means you get more nutrition coming in and more inflammation being dispersed in that area. Well, your discs happen to not have any blood supply. So the only way they get nutrition is through motion. When you move and bend and twist, it brings nutrition into that joint and disperses inflammation. So the more motion you get in there, the healthier those joints are. So that's, one thing I tell people when they retire and all that is that the worst thing you can do for your back is sit on the couch and do nothing. If you're not staying active, your spine will degenerate at a much greater rate. So that little popping noise takes you into the paraphysiological space. But another thing it does, with that increased movement, it increases what they call proprioception. Proprioception are the nerves that go to your brain that tell your brain what position everything is in. Those proprioceptive nerves are integral for running all the autonomic muscles that have to do with posture, position, and all that. Example I use with people is, hey, when you strain your low back and it's really sore, how easy is it to bend over and pick something up? It's like, oh, you got to do all this stuff to get down and then get back up when your back's really hurting. The reason that is because those pain fibers are in competition with proprioceptive fibers. Okay, now basically what that means is if you're feeling pain, the brain doesn't have the ability to run those deep intrinsic muscles that make it easy to bend over and pick something up. When those muscles are shut down because of all the barrage of pain that's coming through, you're left with just your external muscles that you've got to think about using to bend over and pick that up, okay? So they did a study a long time ago on discs, and basically they wanted to look at discs because that's primarily, the care is on disc surgery. So they took this big group of people, I think it was over 400 people, and half of them had chronic low back pain, half of them had never had any back pain. They had MRIs on all of them, and they basically wanted to look at the discs and say, hey, what's the difference? How come these people are in the chronic low back pain there's got to be something wrong with their discs, because that's what we work on. Well, turned out their study was really interesting because it showed that they really couldn't tell the difference between the chronic low back pain patients and the ones that never had back pain by just looking at their discs, and which caused the researchers to kind of scratch their heads and say, what's going on here? And then someone noticed something that was really a breakthrough. What they found out was that 90% of the people with chronic low back pain had what they called disuse atrophy and fatty infiltration into those deep intrinsic muscles that are run by that proprioception. Okay, and so initially they thought, oh, these people just must be a bunch of lazy couch potatoes. Then they went back and they looked at the sample study and they found out that a lot of those people with that disuse atrophy and fatty infiltration of those deep intrinsic muscles were athletes that were ripped and in great physical shape. And so that's brought us to realize basically that when you're in chronic pain, it's not because you're sitting on the couch that those muscles go weak, it's because the barrage of pain messages going to your brain shuts down the proprioception, and when that's shut down over time, they go through disuse atrophy and fatty infiltration. And when you don't have those deep intrinsic muscles supporting you to bend over and pick something up and to go throughout your daily activities, that's when, we hear this all the time. Oh, I've been working hard all my life and I bent over to pick up a pencil and boom, I'm up. And the reason is because those deep intrinsic muscles failed you because over time, that chronic pain was going through there and shut those muscles down. So during a chiropractic adjustment, what we're doing is we're getting that joint into the paraphysiological space, which increases the motion in that joint, increases the fluid exchange, increases the proprioceptive activity to strengthen those deep intrinsic muscles. And once you can get those muscles strong, that's when your physical shape is going to be a lot better. So that's kind of a basic outline of what happens during a chiropractic adjustment.